Back. Today we're going to do lesson 2.2 on adding integers. Let's go ahead and get started. The math team wanted to raise money for a trip to Washington, D.C. They began by estimating their income and expenses. Income items are positive and expenses are negative. By adding all your income and expenses, you can find your total earnings or losses. One way to add integers is by using a number line. Okay, so let's try an example of that. We're going to be modeling integer addition using a number line. Here they're asking us to add -3 plus -6. First, you start at 0. We always start at 0. The first number is a -3. I'm going to go ahead and circle that integer. We are adding a -3 and a -6. Okay, so first I move 3 units to the left for -3, and, which is my adding, and I move 6 more units to the left to show the integer -6. I end up at -9, so my answer is -9. Let's try another one. This time we're adding a +4 and a -7. Knowing our two integers, we can go ahead and start at 0. Starting at 0, first we're going to move 4 spaces in the positive direction. Then, starting from that point, we're going to move 7 spaces in the negative direction. We end up at -3. So, 4 plus -7 equals -3. I want us to notice something here. When we have a negative plus another negative, we are going further into the negatives, coming up with -9. Here we had a positive plus a negative. So first we went in the positive direction and then in the negative direction. Our answer, -3, is actually bigger than -7 because we're adding +4 to it. Let's go ahead and try some more examples. I want you to keep this in mind. Absolute value is another way to add integers. You don't always have to use a number line. One of the rules for adding integers is if you want to add 2 integers with the same sign, so 2 positives or 2 negatives, you just have to find the sum of their absolute values. So just adding them up. Then use their same sign. So this is saying if we're adding -7 and -4, that would just be 7 plus 4, okay, 11, great. And because they were both negative numbers, our answer is -11. Okay, let's look at the next rule. To add 2 integers with different signs, find the difference of their absolute values. Use the sign of the integer with the greater absolute value. Okay, this one's a little bit more complex. If we had -7 plus 4, first we would find their difference. We would subtract them. -7 and 4. Okay, so their absolute values are 7 and 4. Let's subtract that to get 3. Then we have to use the sign of the integer with the greater absolute value. -7 has the greater absolute value of 7. So our answer here is negative. Our answer is -3. Let's go ahead. I'm sorry that popped up. My kitty is here with me. Alrighty, let's go ahead and look at some more examples of that in a more concrete way. Kitty. Oh, funny. Okay, so here we're going to be adding, like I said, -7 and -4. The signs are the same. We have 2 negative numbers that we are finding the sum of. So I look at their absolute values, just 7 and 4. Because they had the same signs, we just add up their absolute values to find 11. Then we have to think, should our answer be +11 or -11? Because each of our integers were negative, our answer is -11. I really like what they've done right here. They're using red as a negative chip. So we have 7 negative chips and 4 more negative chips for a whole total of 11 negative chips. All right, let's go ahead and use this rule for example B, -7 plus +6. Okay, so here, since we have different signs, our rule is that we're going to find the difference of these two absolute values. So my absolute value of -8 is +8. My absolute value of 6 is 6. Finding their difference, I find 2. But I have to think to myself, should my answer be +2 or -2? Well, it says to use the sign of the integer with the greater absolute value. -8 has the greater absolute value, so my answer is -2. I love what they did over here. This is a great way to think about it visually. So here we have our red chips being negative, our yellow chips being positive. There are 8 negative chips and 6 positive chips. A positive and a negative cancel each other out, right? -1 plus 1 is just 0, so all of these are just 0. But we do have 2 extra negative chips, so our answer is -2. Alrighty guys, moving right along, we're on to example 3. For example 3, they're asking us to do a little bit of substitution. We're great at substitution. So we're going to be adding a plus b when a equals 6 and b equals -10. So first of all, it's really important that we show that a is 6. Keep the plus sign. That's not necessarily a positive sign. It's a plus sign. We're going to be adding these together. And what are we adding? We're adding -10 to +6. All right, so now we've got to figure this out. Kitty is sitting on the keyboard. Sorry about that. Okay, 6 plus -10. We can do this any way we wish. So I'm going to demonstrate it a couple ways to kind of review what we've learned here. First, I'm going to use some positive and negative chips. We're going to start with my negative chips. We have 10 negatives. Let me hope I did this right, counting that again. Great. And then we have 6 positive chips. I'm going to again make those in yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to cancel out when I have a positive and a negative. Okay, those are all 0, right? A positive and a negative of the exact same value are canceling each other out. But we do have some leftovers here. And they are negative. I'm thinking the answer is -4. That's what the textbook says too. Great. Let's try this another way. So the other way to look at this would be to have a number line. My number line is very crooked. That's going to be okay. So we are going to go ahead and make sure we start at 0. It says here that we have to go 6 in the positive direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then stop. So right now we're at the integer +6. And then it says we have to go 10 in the negative direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're back to 0. 7, 8, 9, 10. So where would we end up there? We are 4 spaces past 0 in the negative direction. We're ending up at -4. Same thing as my answers. Great. One more way to do this, let's use absolute values. So since we're adding a positive and a negative, okay, the rule for that is to find the difference, because they have different signs, the difference of their absolute values. So my absolute values here are 6 and 10. Difference is subtracting. The answer's 4. Oh, but we have to go back and check. Should our answer be negative or positive? Well, the absolute value of -10 is bigger than the absolute value of 6. So we're going to take the sign of -10 and again get a -4. All right, you guys, I'm going to set you off to work on your problem set. You're going to be completing numbers 1 through 50, but only doing the even number problems. So you're actually starting with number 2, and then 4, 6, 8, and so on. Go ahead and do your best on those problems, and then check back with this video to see how you did and correct your paper. Good luck! pause this video. Alrighty, I'm going to move on and bring us to the answers for the first problem set. So for the first problem set, remember we are only doing the evens. So start and check and see how you did on 2 and 4 and 6 and 8 and so on. In a little bit, I'll change to the next page. Remember, you can always pause if you need more time to correct your work. Alrighty, Kitty nicely switched us to the next section, checking numbers 34 through 50. Feel free to pause the video if you want to continue checking. But for now, great job on this problem set. Thank you for your hard work on adding integers. Lesson 2-2. This is Miss Mega, signing off.